Hello everybody, welcome to Market Masterclass, and it's Tuesday the 10th of January 2017, and on the world front we're going to look at a West African country which originally was colonial power there was the Portuguese, and interesting enough the Angola and Mozambique, the two countries in Africa, they seem to the colonies that lasted the longest, because they were more Africanized than, if you like, Europeanized. The other countries, the other countries got kicked out earlier. Anyway, Angola is the country we're looking at. It's on the west coast of Africa. It's north of Namibia, it's south of the Congo, and it's west of Zambia. It's got a population of 24.5 million people, and the sort of sensational reporting, in my opinion, is that it's the fastest growing economy in the world from 2000 to 2010, mainly because of oil. But what was its base in 2000? Basically, they got their independence from the Portuguese in 1975, and there was a civil war of 27 years up until 2002, with interference from the Soviets, Cuba, the United States of America, and South Africa, and 98% of the bridges were destroyed, 80% of factories and schools, and 6% of hospitals, and most of the roads. So it's hardly surprising that the economy has been one of the fastest growing, because there was nothing there. So it's simple to grow. It's been totally and utterly destroyed. But and its oil base has what's driven it high. It's the second largest oil reserves in Africa. However, what about of course, the government, the president, in fact, the president's daughter is reckoned to be the richest woman in Africa. I wonder why that is. Taxes, by the way, on oil and mining are up as high as 50%. And some French company invested, I think, $16 billion in some oil development company there in recent years. So oil is feeding the controlling government population. Needless to say, corruption is part of the name of the game, and the reality of the place is reckoned to be, in terms of growth, it's up to 7% a year. However, guess what? Inflation is 7% a year as well, and although they rate unemployment at only 7%, something like 40.5% of the population is below the poverty line, and 85% of the population works in agriculture, and 1/3 of the population lives on subsistence farming. So the population is suffering greatly, despite the fact that overall the economy looks as though it's one of the fastest growing economies in the world. The reality is nonsense on the ground for the local population. In terms of exports, China takes 46% of exports, and exports include oil, petroleum products, diamonds, fish and fish products, cotton, coffee, sisal, and lumber. USA takes 14%, India 11%, South Africa 4%. In terms of imports, machinery, normal non-industrialized country imports, machinery, electrical equipment, vehicles, and food and medicines and all that sort of stuff. And China, they're responsible for 21% of the imports. Portugal, responsible for 20%. Having been a Portuguese colony, and Brazil, which of course the origin of the Portuguese trade in Angola was slavery to Brazil, and of course it's the only country in the whole of South America which still speaks Portuguese. The rest of the continent is Spanish. So Brazil imports something like 6% of imports come from Brazil. A little bit, 8% from USA and 7% from South Africa. So in terms of global ranking of freedom as a free economy, it's ranked 156th. In terms of ease of doing business, it's rated at 172nd in the world. They reckon that the state health care funds have all been stolen, and that's why there's an extremely high child mortality in the country. Only 10% of the total population is estimated to have a bank account. So overall, a pretty ragged country, funded by oil. Of course, 80% of government revenues come from oil, and 90% of exports revenue comes from oil. So that's the basis of a higgledy-piggledy, very complicated economy of Angola. Let's hope that the population gets included into growth and development, and the future gets brighter for the majority of the population rather than the small group who control pretty well everything in the country. So that's Angola for you. I hope you found that useful and interesting and disturbing. Bye for now. See you next time.